Orisa went from a shield tank to a spear tank. But before we get to that, let's start from the top. Orisa now has an extra 50 armor added to her overall health pool. Her gun no longer shoots needle-like bullets, but instead shoots what looks and feels like massive paintballs. The gun also never has to reload, but it does overheat after a while. Overall, this seems like a net nerf to her primary fire, but for good reason. Orisa now has a secondary fire called Energy Javelin. You'll never guess what this ability does. She throws a javelin and it hits people. But it is extremely satisfying to hit. Not only does it deal chunky damage, but it stuns, knocks back, and even has wall impact. Moving on to her first ability, Fortify, it gives Orisa damage reduction and boop/stun immunity. What's new is that it now gives her extra health and reduces movement speed by 20%. Now for my favorite part, her second ability called Javelin Spin, aka Spin the Wind. There's a lot more to this ability than meets the eye. First of all, it eats all incoming damage with the exception of beam damage. So that means yes, it does eat ultimates like Graviton Surge, Pulse Bomb, and even Hanzo's Dragon. Not only is this ability a great defensive tool, but it also serves as a great blender for mincing enemies. It's also a really nice mobility option. As you could imagine, this ability is insanely good for cornering enemies and taking them off the map. And did I mention that it stacks with Fortify? Lastly, onto her ultimate, which is called Terra Surge. When used, she automatically gains the benefits of her ability Fortify, but it's important to note that doesn't use the actual cooldown. So using the cooldown a second before your ultimate is usually a flat out waste. Now for the action. The moment you ult, an initial pull is done to all enemies in radius. This can be useful for pulling people out of position, off high grounds, or off the map. You might have noticed that there's a timer. Basically, the longer enemies sit in this, the more damage will scale up until that timer runs out or the Orisa player chooses to trigger it. If she triggers it too soon, the damage might as well not exist. So how does all this affect her playstyle? Fortify has always made Orisa difficult to focus, but now you throw in the defensive capabilities of Javelin Spin, and she becomes hands down the hardest hero to eliminate. This means she'll be really good at just sitting on the objective and never dying. But she's not just good at defending the objective, she's also really good at defending her teammates. The Fidget Spinner is a great way to not only stop enemies from hitting their teammates, but also to isolate and eliminate. The Javelin Toss is also a phenomenal tool for stopping an engagement before it happens. But let's be honest, the way everyone's going to want to play Orisa is running it down main, spin, javelin, and shoot comboing enemies into dust. Which honestly, it's a pretty viable option if you can pull it off. It's definitely one of those things you'll have to limit test to see when it works. So where does her ultimate play in all this? I found that it works best as a part 3 to the previously mentioned playstyles. If need be, you can use it as a second Fortify to save your skin. You can also use it to punish enemies in your team, or you can use it offensively for extra damage and space making. So in conclusion, new Orisa can stall, protect, and attack. You don't have to take my word for it. Instead, check out this montage of me playing reworked Orisa on the Overwatch 2 Alpha. But before you do that, be sure to hit a like and subscribe on this video if you enjoyed it. And as always, thank you for watching and good luck on the grind.